So again, good evening, everyone. I can't wait to get into week two of our D-Free financial freedom program. For those of you who were not here last week, I am Reverend Dr. Selena Carter, and I am the founder of Spirit of Excellence Leadership Guidance Incorporated. And I I'm the facilitator of D Free. This is one program that I always get excited about facilitating. This is an interactive program, and I look for input and to hear feedback from all of you that are on here. Don't be ashamed if your finances are not where you would like for them to be. That's the reason why we're here. And that's the reason why we are doing D Free. So let's go ahead and, uh, Dr. Patterson, do you want to say anything before we go to the opening prayer?
I just want to thank you again for being our guest instructor, for helping us on our journeys to financial freedom. And for everybody who's on here tonight, a big thanks to you for taking the journey, and to Joe for making sure we can record it for anybody who misses. I'm grateful, and I'm looking forward to learning with everybody else.
All right. Okay. Now, is someone keeping attendance?
You want me to keep attendance?
Sure, because want to make sure that you complete as many of the classes as possible. So at the end for graduation, when you receive your certificate, we want to make sure that you've completed all of the classes. So let's go ahead and get started tonight. Volunteer for someone to read
Dr.
our
Carter, I'm
opening.
sorry, just before you start, Elder
Sure.
April, I have a
Yes.
screenshot of the participant list, so you don't have to worry about taking attendance. I'll send this to Rebecca, and
Okay.
we'll do that each week. So you don't have, you could just be here as a student.
Okay,
Okay. Thank
great.
you. Thank you so much.
Good, good. So, would someone like to read the opening prayer?
I'll read it. Dear God, I'm beginning a journey towards financial freedom. I pray you will give me the strength to see myself, to help myself, and to trust your instructions. Thank you for what is about to happen in my life. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for what is about to happen in my life. And we are looking for great things to happen. So let's do a quick check-in. For those who were here last week, want to hear from you. New insights? Do you had any struggles?
Yeah, I found some insights regarding the when you had instructed us to go into checking our credit card bills, and I was checking my income, and I checked my credit card bills, and I came up with some discoveries that I had to have a talk with certain people, and that was the biggest insight was for me to just to see my finances and how I need to correct some things.
Yeah. So say a little bit more about your discoveries that you were not aware of.
Well, I was not aware of that my income was not covering my debt. I put it that way. And
Yeah.
I realized I had to do some house cleaning in order to work on it. And I'm study trying to do that. I put a plan in action, and I'm hoping to see something to flourish from it.
Yeah, good, good. Thank you, April. And that's the whole reason behind D Free is to provide you with those tools because, before doing that small assignment, you were not aware of that, correct?
I wasn't. I was
Yeah,
assuming a lot of things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, good. Thank you for being transparent about that. Anyone else would care to share?
Yeah, I found out that I was paying for some services that I no longer use once I started looking into all of my expenditures. So I was able to cancel some things and save some more money.
All right, good for you, Joe. That is excellent. Excellent. That's the whole purpose here. Anyone else? No discoveries, or, was it painstaking to pull together your bills? And, not just pulling together bills, it's just money that you're paying out for nails, for hair, coffee in the morning. Um, and we talked about keeping those receipts. Did anyone look at, breaking a $20 bill, or looking at your debit card receipts for the last week?
Yes, I most definitely did. After I listened to what you were saying, I was paying
Mhm.
much more attention to every little bit I'm spending. And you mentioned about receipts and so on. So during this week, I have definitely been paying a little bit more attention than before. So I'm grateful for that. The one thing that I'm grateful for is being able to come on this deep free journey. And recently I started budgeting and really sticking to it. So then to have this is an added blessing, and I'm truly grateful.
Yeah, that's good. And what made you start budgeting?
Because I discovered that I want to be a kingdom financier.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
it.
you have some goals in mind as well.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
All right. Everyone is already on the path to becoming deep free. I love it. All right. So thank you for that quick check-in. Let's move on.
I'm sorry, Miss, oh, never mind, sorry.
Yes, go ahead. Go
Oh, yeah,
ahead.
no worries. I was just reading Pastor was sending a message, but then, yeah.
All right. We're good. Going the wrong way. Okay. So step 1 of level 1, the first step is admitting the problem. And just hearing you share today, we admit that, there is a problem with some of our finances. We can all do something to tweak it and make it better. So by the end of this session, participants will be able to recognize the reality of their financial condition. April, I think you already shared with us that you're recognizing yours, and Joe as well, and understanding the emotional and spiritual impact of debt. Acknowledge unhealthy financial behaviors and patterns, and take personal responsibility for financial decisions, and commit to telling the truth about money, right? You have to be honest about um, your finances. So also there's a D-Free pledge. And the pledge is, and you could read it, and I know being virtually, it may not be simultaneously, but just read the pledge, and this is what you are pledging to do as a result of completing the D-Free program. So you could start reading Apply Biblical Principles for Managing My Finances. Keep my expenses below my income. Pay my bills on time. Invest in assets that grow in value and contribute to my church and its ministries. So the last two bullets can become a struggle for, well, the last three for some, because you can't invest in assets that grow in value if your finances are not in order. Also, paying your bills on time. It is so important when you receive your bills that you pay them before the due date, right? Because a lot of bills now can be paid online. You don't have to um, drop them in the mail. You could set up reoccurring payments in your bank account, but the goal is to pay your bills on time and to make sure that it's paid before the due date. And even if you see that you are going to be late with the bill, call your creditor. Don't just don't pay it on time, but call and let them know, set up a payment plan so that it shows good faith that you are planning to pay the bill. And then contribute to my church and its ministries. Become tithers. And, also once you become a tither, give over that amount to contribute to other, community initiatives, organizations that you may be a part of. And we'll get into that in the last couple of classes. But the upfront goal is cleaning up your finances. And please stop me if you have any questions or comments. I cannot see the chat. So, if there's something in the chat, just let me know.
I do. It's Aisha, I'm sorry. So
Sure.
I wanted to respond to something, to one of your suggestions when you said to call the creditor. Now I have done that when I know that I'm gonna be late for a payment or anything of that nature. And it can be just simply that I just don't have it right now. I'm gonna get it, but I'm gonna have it. I kind of feel like I'm hesitant to do that at times because I kind of feel like sometimes I'm bullied into making just, if I call you and say I don't have it, their response is, well, can you just pay $10, $20? If I called you and said I don't have it, then now we're debating back and forth, like you're gonna make me have it. And I think that for the most part, that's what discourages people on calling the credit collectors, because they're like, I don't feel like going on the back and forth. If I lead with I don't have it, honor that. I told you when I'm gonna get it to you, but they want you to put a little bit of something before you get off of the phone.
Right. So credit collectors and, just being late on a credit card or something, two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So with credit collectors, you can only pay what you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said sometimes you feel bullied. Why is that?
Because we're debating back and forth. If I call and I lead with, listen, I don't have it right now. I'll have it by Friday. Can you give me until Friday to make this payment? It's the debate back and forth. And you know what? And just letting me clear that that's like with my credit card. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm actually speaking on. Um, it's the debate back and forth. Okay, well, thank you for calling. We honor the fact that you called us and you're so honest. But do you think that you can possibly pay at least $80 towards the? And I'm like, didn't I just tell you? and it's like, we understand, we do understand, but before you know it, I sometimes I'm just like, I literally just had to hang up.
Yeah. And you know what? When you make those calls, especially nowadays, most of your the support or the representatives are a help desk, right? So when you make your call, I'm calling to let you know that I will be making a payment on Friday, whatever the date is, right? There's no going back and forth because you can't go back and forth on something you already know when you're placing a call, you don't have it,
Right.
right? So don't feel bullied, you know, because they're doing their job, but you know what your responsibility is as well and what you're trying to do um to make sure you make that payment. Look, I like to set up a monthly payment. If the bill is $250, I can only pay $5 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And when that changes, I will add more. Like have that conversation. And if the person that you're talking to is making you feel that way, hang up and call back, right? Because you should never feel that you're being bullied to negotiate paying your bills, right? Because you're already stressed out because it's late, right? You
Exactly.
don't need somebody to beat you over the head with a club to make you pay what you know that you can't pay, right?
Right. Right.
So don't allow them to make you feel that way. You state your case, what it is that you're able to pay, and that's it.
Thank you.
So anything else, Aisha?
No, no, that was
Okay. All right. So before we end, if there's anything that you have to pay and you have to make that call, stand your ground,
exactly.
right? Don't allow them to make you feel less than, right? Because you know you have a goal that you are trying to achieve and you don't want anybody to make you feel less than trying to reach that goal. Okay. So the memory verse, and we talked about this last week, that each week there's a memory verse in each chapter. And this week, anyone care to read the memory verse?
I could read if you like.
Sure.
The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Proverbs 22, verse 7, NIV.
So reflect on that. What when you hear or read this scripture, what does that mean to you?
Um, it means to me that that debt creates a dependency and vulnerability, um, and that it encourages a balance of both rich and poor are mindful of their responsibilities and they strive for mutual respect and understanding.
Yeah, yeah. And just like Aisha just shared, the rich rule over the poor, and it doesn't mean that you are poor, like financially poor, but you're poor in your ability to pay that particular debt, right? And the person on the other end is ruling, right? And making you feel like that. And as borrowers, we become a slave to the lender, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you, Aisha. Hold on. So
Mm-hmm.
what is a card that we have, one of the credit cards that we carry?
MasterCard.
MasterCard. MasterCard,
American.
right? And
American.
once we start swiping that card, we become indebted to the lender, right? We become a slave over that, piece of plastic, little piece of plastic becomes our master.
Right.
Aisha,
Yes.
you had your hand up?
Oh, you know what? I was gonna say, for me, this memory verse, when I analyzed it, so I had to like place myself in a situation. So when I first fill out for this credit card, you give me a limit of $75,000. I get accepted. I'm happy. I I feel like at the end of the day, once I get the card, I'm swiping, swiping, swiping. I feel like they are looking in, they're seeing my spending habits, they're seeing what I'm doing. They see that, what my spending habits is going above and beyond. You know what this income already is because we have to fill it out and put it on the application. Clearly, I feel like it's a setup. I know I have to have some discipline, but you're enabling me as well. And I have to have some self-control. But you keep calling me saying, you know what, we just increased your limit. We just increased your limit. And it's a whole setup. I just have to sometimes dial myself back to say, you know what, cut this card up, or just, you know what, it's a wrap for you. And then that's when I'm at the end of the day, once, I've done spent all that I can spend. Now I'm getting the phone calls. And now if I say to you, like, okay, I can only give $200, well, that's not enough, So now I'm a slave.
So Aisha, what do you need to do with that card?
Cut it up.
Or what does Aisha need to do?
Get that card out of here. Get it out of here.
Or discipline, right?
Get out of here. And
Because
that's why
you can
I'm
keep
here.
the card. You
Yeah.
know, we need a major credit card, but we have to the card cannot control us. We have to control it, right?
Exactly. Amen.
Okay. Anyone else on this verse? The memory verse? So let's look at this.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. I remember as a child going out with my dad, and we were in this place where they did a lot of layaway, and people were in there, and the line was really, really long, and people were paying off for their furniture, they were paying off for this and that. And my father said to me, "Do you see that line? That's people paying for stuff that they can't afford." And he would say to me, "If you see something and you want it and you can't pay cash for it, that means you can't afford it." So that kind of like stuck with me for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
If it's above my means, I'm not even gonna try to get, to purchase anything that's above my means. So yeah.
Right, right. And there are some things that we have to finance. Like, don't get me wrong, everything you don't have to pay cash for. But when you become financially um, focused on what your goals are, you plan for it, right? And not just do spur of the moment spending. Like tonight before class started, I was online and I saw some shoes that went on sale that I had been looking for,
Okay.
and I went and purchased them. But I purchased it with knowing that it will be paid for, right? I didn't purchase it out of funds that I don't have. So let's look at this quick exercise here. What does it mean in God we trust on currency?
Trust that God gonna take care of it.
God is going to take care of it.
That is because of God we have the money.
God's gonna cover the cost.
God's going to cover the cost.
Amen to that.
No, I'm just repeating what someone said. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm just guessing. I have no idea.
Okay. So in God we trust is the official motto on the United States and has been printed on the US coin since 1864 and on paper money since 1957. So not that long ago. It reflects the ideal that as a nation, we place our trust in a higher power as a nation. That's what it's supposed to represent, rather than material wealth, government, or human effort. But in the context of money, it serves as a spiritual reminder that money is a tool, not a God, right? Because we've seen people make money a God and not a tool to purchase or, for our livelihood, to buy our necessities. It becomes a God when we chase money, right? Everything we do, we chase money. And we have to look at that too. We could work 2 and 3 jobs and we're chasing money. We're chasing money. We can never make enough money to acquire things, right? And when we look at the D-Free, the entire concept, and Dr. Sori saying that he drove into the parking lot of his church and saw all of these expensive cars, but the church was hurting financially. And that's what encouraged him to start this program so that we can be better stewards over our money. Also, our ultimate security, hope, and provision comes from God, right? Our provision comes from God, not our bank accounts or our possessions. We are called to be stewards or managers of our resources entrusted to us by God. So we don't make a God out of money. We use it as a tool. So as we go into this chapter and we admit the problem of debt and face financial truth, one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves, do I trust money to provide what only God can? And how does my faith influence what I earn, spend, and save? How does your faith influence the way you earn, spend, and save? Anyone? No takers? So in God we trust is printed on money as a challenge and a reminder. Don't trust the money. Trust the God who provides it. Any questions or comments?
I think it's ironic that our money also says, let the buyer beware. So, like you said earlier about discipline and self-control, we can trust God, but the seller out there is a trap. As Aisha was saying, they'll sell you whatever. They don't care if you can afford it or not. Like timeshares don't seem to have any rules. You could be overspent in every area and go on vacation and they can sell you a timeshare, but you can't buy a house to live in on the other side. So there's all these traps out there and we have to be wise.
Yes, that is so true, Dr. Patterson. And when you talk about the traps, television. We showed last week. I showed the series of Empire fashion, that is constantly in our face on social media. You could look at one thing and then you'll constantly start receiving, shoes or clothes or whatever it is that you were looking at. So our environment is set up to entice us, to tease us, to purchase and to engage in things that we know we can't afford. And this D-Free Financial Freedom Program is all about discipline. And are you willing to do the work to make the changes? And it didn't happen overnight. So um, next week we'll talk about everybody doing a homework assignment. They will set their D-Free date. So you will look at your debt, and that's why the first class I asked you to gather all your debt, because you will need to know everything that you are paying on a monthly basis so that you could do your D-Free debt. So everybody will have a date when they are planning to be D-Free. And as you go through this process, no new debt unless it's an emergency. Absolutely no new debt. Aisha, put that credit card in way in the back somewhere where you can't find it. Don't cut it up, because you are going to straighten it out, and that credit card will be used for you to go on vacation, for you to do some things that you really want to do for yourself. So right now it doesn't look like that, but you hold on to that card until you get it right.
So you said like, don't, we can shop, but just don't make debt. Like pay it with cash or
Pay it with cash, or plan for what you are looking to spend,
okay,
right? Because you're trying to get out of debt,
out of it, right?
not keep creating it, right? And the only way to get out of it, you have to take a pause, right? And next week we will really get into cleaning up the mess.
Okay.
So you have to take a pause. We don't need any more shoes. We don't need any more clothes. We know we have to eat. You want to save money at the grocery store? Do a shopping list, right? Because how much food do we throw out?
Tons.
How often are
Always
we eating
inflating the
out?
prices too. You go one week and it's this, and then you go next week is I never deviate from my shopping list because I know like we eat certain things in the house, but
Mm-hmm.
I can go shopping one week and then go maybe 2 weeks later for that same item. Now it costs more. Like I'm not understanding it.
Right. So you plan for that. We know everything has gone up except our paycheck.
Right. And no coupons.
Yep.
And no coupons. That is so true. So we talked about what does the 3 Ds in D-Free. So it's designed to take you from the bad Ds to the good Ds. And the good Ds mean true financial freedom, right? So even if you, as we go through this and you go through your D-Free process and you're getting discouraged, go back and look at the memory verse and look at the prayers that are at the beginning and the end of each chapter. But giving up is not an option, right? You can do this. You can do it. It will be a little challenging, but you can do it. So the 3 Ds, the bad Ds are debt, delinquencies, deficients, and freedom. And you want to move to deposits, dividends, and deeds. That means you're saving money, you're investing, and you're purchasing real estate. So what are the bad D's in order to restore the cornerstone of your financial strength? Money you owe to creditors or loan agencies. Delinquency, habitual late payments negatively impacting your credit score. Like whatever you do, if you can't pay on time right now, make arrangements, payment arrangements, right? The one thing that I don't like is setting up reoccurring payments. I guess that's a little of the control in me because I don't want somebody going into my account. Like, but if you know you're not disciplined enough to make sure your bills are paid on a certain date, then set it up until you become disciplined enough, right? Because it doesn't work for me, it doesn't mean it won't work for you. And deficient expenses exceeds income. And until you write it down and actually see what's coming in and what's going out, you don't know that there's some deficiency in your finances. All you know is at the end of the month, I'm not able to pay everything, right? And then you could look and see, okay, maybe I need to cut back over here, cut back over there. You know, just thinking about coffee. If you buy coffee in the morning, cup of coffee is well over $3 now. You do that 5 days a week, you go to church on Sunday, that adding another day, you stop, eat out, uh, that adds up. When you start looking at your receipts, how much you're spending that is not going towards your bills, it really begins to add up. And then some of the good D's, deposits, any amount of money held at a financial institution on behalf of an account holder. So your savings, like what does your savings account look like? Are you able to save? You know, the rule of thumb is you should have at least 3 months worth of bills, of finances in your account, just in case something happened. 3 to 6 months of money put away. And you can start saving as little as $10 a month to build until you get to the savings plan that you would like to do each month. And dividends, you know, if you're working, are you, and we'll talk more about this, you know, what does your retirement fund look like? Have you start planning for your retirement fund? Are you a part of the 401k plan at work? And again, we'll really get into that towards the end. And then deeds, being homeowners. It's nothing like, you know, owning property or owning land. Any questions or comments? So I'm not going to go over the 10 rules again, but I want you to keep these 10 rules in front of you as you go through this program. Face the numbers head on. So by next week, you should have gathered up all your bills, see what you're paying out, no new debt. And if you can, take out cash to buy your gas, to do your lunch. If you take out $25 for the week, and I know $25 won't last very long, but you could say, I'm only spending $5 a day, right? I'm going to take my lunch, take my breakfast, and my $5 will be for whatever. And when that $25 is gone for the week, you're done. Everybody have a nice little pretty cup, make coffee at home. So you have to be intentional about becoming debt free. Stop borrowing money. no new debt, and prioritize debt repayment. The snowball, we're going to talk about the snowball um, payoff method, and that's going to help you get to your D-free date. And then increase your income if need be. Because maybe today what you have is not going to help you get out of debt. And you'll just be working to pay bills, right?
Right.
That creates stress, it tires you out, and you're frustrated. Build an emergency fund. We have to get to that. Cut unnecessary expenses. Like look at again some of the things that you're spending monthly. You heard Joe said he um canceled some subscriptions, that you put those automatic payments up and forget about it, but it's coming out of your checking or savings account. Pay more than the minimum, right? And we're going to look at what a credit card payoff looks like when you only pay the minimum. And stay motivated and accountable, right? We have to hold one another accountable while we're going through this process. And First Presbyterian, you are really at the advantage because Dr. Patterson is holding you accountable. She's holding herself accountable, being a part of this program, right? So that in itself is a blessing, that your spiritual leader wants to see you in good financial health, right? Because again, when your finances is not healthy, it affects you physically, mentally, and spiritually. So let's look at some statistics from 2024 to 2025. Total U.S. household debt reached a record of $18 trillion by the end of 2024, marking an increase of $93 billion. That is just household debt. Credit card debt, Americans owe a record of $1.21 trillion in credit card debt. And for most of us, we don't even know where half of the stuff is that we put on the credit card. That's the sad part about it. The average credit card debt per household. Households with revolving credit debt carry an average balance of $10,000. And the average credit score. So when is the last time you check your credit score?
I check mine often because I have the app on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I check it often. I have a subscription that I apply to that gives me my credit score.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
I'm like Elder Aisha because I'm getting mine back up so I can get a deed.
All right,
Yes.
that's a goal. And most credit cards now, you can look at your credit score, like if you have a Chase card or, Amex, all of the credit cards, when you look on your bill and go online, you should see that you're able to check your credit score. And the one thing about
Yeah, my card does that.
yeah, and it's a good feature to go out there and check. And years ago, you could only get a copy of your credit report once a year. Now you just click on, if you have it on any of your cards, and just download it or view it online. So, so many things has changed when it comes to looking at your credit information. And delinquency rates are approximately 3.9% of total debt balances at the end of 2024, indicating a rise in missed payments. And it's probably higher than that now. When I saw these numbers here, I thought that was really low because a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, right? If you miss one paycheck, it can be catastrophic for some people, right? Just to miss one paycheck because we're not able to save those funds.
Right.
So
And
any question, go ahead.
And I think from what I pay attention to most when checking my credit score, I'm paying attention to my FICO more than anything. Like I'm constantly honing in on my FICO score because
Mhm.
that's really what they pay the creditors they pay attention to when
Yes,
trying to obtain anything.
yes, that is so true.
Mm.
So before I move on, I want to go to the workbook and talk about some of the reading. Does anyone have any comment on the reading and the story of Claude and Grace? No readers?
Well,
I really appreciate the story because I like the fact that we could put ourselves in their shoes without feeling embarrassed or like sometimes you feel like you're the only one in a situation, and knowing that it happens to other people lets you feel less ashamed.
Yes, that is so true. And it just made it so their story is so relatable and their story will be carried throughout the workbook.
right.
Anyone else on Claude and Grace?
I found it very relatable too, because, well, they being so young, they didn't know when in terms of credit cards and spending and so on and so forth. But it gives you a good chance to view other people's situations and then learn from it. Um, so for the first part, I said that it would have caused a lot of friction and all the spending and stuff and decrease in their credit score. Um, so, like I said, I'm really grateful for this D free class because it's an eye opener and it's like being awakened to another part of life that especially we as Black people we don't take too much consideration of or pay too much attention to. So
Yes.
reading that with the Claude and Grace, it really woke me up. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And also, before the Claude and Grace story, Dr. Soares, he shared his story about the financial stronghold, his financial stronghold message, talking about when gas was $1. So, that had to be a long time ago. And, he had his first car and then he received his first gas card and he thought, oh, wow, I could put this on this credit card. And that was really his initial start to dealing with credit card debt. And he talks about that and just looking at some barriers and obstacles, things that in our life that get in the way. And he said areas in in life that may financially strangle and financially indebted are. So, what are some things that, we experience as it relates to our finances that pretty much financially strangle us? And that's, on the bottom of page 10. I don't know if anybody completed that exercise, but what are things that strangle us financially?
Bills.
Bills.
Lifestyles.
Trying to live up like the Joneses.
Yes. Yes.
Even some habits. I used to think I needed a new outfit every time I was going to something special. And sometimes you just need to shop in your closet.
True.
That's right. Those one-time outfits we spend a lot of money on. And with social media, well, I don't want this to be on social media in this outfit again.
Twice.
Worrying about
know-
Jordans instead of the name brand sneakers. I'll admit,
Yeah.
I come from Mount Vernon, money earning. I always had to keep those fresh sneakers up.
Yes. Last year I go and I preach at Etna Mahan prison up in Clinton, New Jersey. And it was one Sunday I went up there and I had slides on. And you can't wear open toe shoes. So in order for me to go in, I had to jump back in my car, go over to Walmart and get some shoes. So I'm like, what kind of shoes am I going to get out of Walmart? So I bought a pair of $20 sneakers, and let me tell you, I wear those sneakers out now. But originally I would have never gone over there to get shoes to wear, but we focus on so many things. And like Dr. Patterson was saying, we have clothes in our closet today that we could give away and help someone else build another wardrobe, right?
Yeah.
So no new clothes, no new spending
No new
until
clothes?
what's that?
No, did you say no new clothes?
No new clothes.
Not
You're
unless you need them and have
right.
cash for them. Why would we need them?
Right. Right. You're trying to become debt free. Like the rich, they don't focus on, all these expensive clothes and everything. They could go and wear a pair of jeans forever. We go on vacation and the suitcase is full of all new clothes. And half of it we don't even wear. So barriers and obstacles, right? We can be our own barrier and obstacles, right? Because we have put in our mind. One thing I always say about, and it's not all blacks, that we wear everything we earn. Like all of our money goes into looking good, right? We drive expensive cars and live and paying rent and not try to go towards ownership. We have to change that. And as you learn this D-free financial freedom, the concepts, if you have children, you have to pass this down to your children and to your grandchildren, because you work hard and you leave money for them and they're not financially fit. They're going to run through that money before your body is cold in the ground, right?
Yeah.
Because we never taught them about finances.
Right.
So they need to know this as well. So let's look at what a credit card, if we paid the minimum on a credit card. The starting balance is 0. and we charge $450 at 19.9% interest. And each month, at 19.9% interest, and due each month is $89.55. In 6 months, you would have paid $987 if you paid the minimum. And it would take you 1 year and 10 months to pay off. $450. Everyone with a credit card, do you know your interest rate on your credit card?
Yes. You pay back triple or double what you borrowed, what your card is.
So when you set up your financial plan, when you list all your debts, you will also list all of your interest rate in a column to show how much you're paying in interest on your cards. Because a lot of us don't know what the interest rate is. And you know, you go into stores and you're making a purchase like TJ Maxx or any store, Macy's, Nordstrom's. Oh, you don't have one of our credit cards. Would you like to open a card? No, because that 10, 15% that you will get off at that purchase, it will be added back in and some when you receive your bill. So what looks like a sale up front will be added in when you pay the bill. Also, you may see stores that say 6 months, no interest, right? If you can't pay something off in that interest-free window, because really it's like free money if you pay it and you pay it over time. But if you don't pay it before that, whatever the period is over, they add interest on the whole purchase. So you have to be careful when you see those 6 months or 1 year no interest. If you're making a big purchase and you're disciplined, it's good to use that because it's free money. Like you pay in installments and not being charged for it. They don't want you to do that. They want you to miss a payment and have to tack that interest on at the end. So be mindful of those type of spending habits. Yes, Aisha.
You know what? I wanted to say something too, and this is not just happens with like credit cards and things. I had noticed with Amazon. Now I have a Amazon Prime account, and on some stuff it's supposed to guarantee you next day delivery. But I noticed that that hadn't been happening because it would say next day, but then it'll say it'll come 2 days later. But that's part of your you could get it later, but because you're Prime, you won't get it next day. You'll get it maybe 2 days later. So I'm paying for the membership. And then they also, I noticed that they add in there where they tell you that um your shipping is free. But ultimately, when I clicked on to see what the shipping cost was, and it gave an amount for the shipping cost, but then I went back and I hit where I'm getting the free shipping. I saw that the shipping was included in my taxes.
Yep, Amazon is scamming everybody. That's why I canceled
Scamming
it and
me.
I've never
I
looked
mean,
back. I just go to
scamming
the
me,
store.
scamming me out the window, scamming me bad.
Wow.
And I'm paying for this Amazon Prime membership that's supposed to guarantee me that, and you tell me free shipping, and I found it in my taxes. So here's what. Bye, Amazon.
But Aisha, you won't be on Amazon because you're not doing any spending.
Huh? Okay.
So you won't be on Amazon unless it's necessities that you're purchasing.
You're right. Almost I had to calm myself down. I forgot.
Yeah. We gonna keep you accountable.
Exactly.
So a couple of assignments as we prepare to get ready for next week. Again, listing your finances. We're going to go back to Claude and Grace before we end. Get listing all your finances and everything you pay. Everything. Everything that you pay. And if you don't have a savings account or a checking account, we're going to work towards doing that, even if it's just dropping $5, $10 a month in there. And then, what are your financial goals? Look on page 13 of, the book. There's a couple of commitments on there. I will open an account. That I currently don't have, like retirement, credit, bank or credit union checking account, no credit card accounts. All right. I will list 3 to 5 challenges I have had in the area of finances. What have been some of your challenges? And this can be found on page 13. Like, I don't know if you printed out the workbook. I think you could just, when you download a copy, you could write in it. I will name at least 3 financial goals I have. What are your financial goals? And everyone's goals are different. Your financial goal may be, I would like to be a tither. That's my financial goal. Or, you would like to be able to give to a charity or purchase a car, purchase a home. We heard Dr. Patterson. She's looking to purchase a home. And what are some of the financial actions that you are proud of? So let's go back and look at Claude and Grace. They started out the average couple, out of college. And then here comes the debt.
Right.
So what were some of the financial barriers Claude and Grace faced?
I put that they were relying on their credit card.
They were relying on their credit cards. Yeah.
They had student loans to repay.
Mm-hmm.
They were not paying the credit bills on time.
Mm-hmm.
And their spending habits was lacking.
Yes. Sounds familiar?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted
So
to
what?
add that they weren't communicating. It appeared to me that they weren't communicating about their finances. So whatever
Yes.
friction and everything that was going on, they weren't sitting down and discussing and saying, okay, well, listen, this is what's going on. how do we get out of it? So, yeah.
Yes, very good observation. And that's why, last week I had mentioned if you are married in a relationship and you have two incomes coming together, you should be doing D-free together because it's hard when one person is getting all the information and now you are looking for the other person to change. They don't know what you're talking about, right? But when you're hearing it and you're experiencing it together, it makes a difference. So what two challenges do you believe that should be kept Claude and Grace in their situation? And I think is that Josie?
Yes,
Did I say
ma'am.
that? Okay. I believe you just answered that. Communication.
Okay.
Communication is key.
Sure is.
So what are two financial goals that they could set?
To communicate with one another,
Communicate.
reevaluate some of their spending habits.
Mm-hmm.
Come up with a
Creating a
budget plan and
budget.
stick to it. You're saying the same thing as me, Elder April.
I like this. Coming up with those responses.
Mhm.
That's good. Yes. So before we get into the homework, I want to share on the Google Drive. I put some worksheets out there. Let me just share this one first. So, so this is one of the worksheets that I put out. And I searched a couple of days for one that showed information from 2000 or earlier, and this one is based off of guidelines for 2018. But it will give you the concept here is to give you a general picture of where you should be based on your income, right? How much money you should be spending in different areas. And hopefully before the end, I'm going to keep searching for a more updated because housing has definitely changed for a lot of us, but it's not that much because I've had an earlier version from this and it's really not a big difference. But I just want you to get the concept of what it looks like when your income and your expenses. So I'm just going to go to the middle here. So if your gross household income, and this is based off of a married with two children, and I have one out there in the folder. If you're single, um, just single or single with children, it's a total of 4 out there. But if your income is 45,000 a year, 10% goes to tithing. And then your taxes is what's automatically taken out of your income. Your spendable income is $35,676. Now, what I love about this is your tithe and your giving comes off the top. The taxes comes off the top. You have no control over that. You have control over the tithing and giving. And everything after that is where your income, your spendable income should be going. So if your income is 35,000, your net spendable income, your it's 35,676. 32% of that goes toward housing. And I really have to find an updated chart because housing is so expensive now. So if you took 35,676, get your calculators out, time 32%, 35,676 times. You should be spending $11,416 a year for housing. So when you divide that by 12, it's $951. And rent is way more than that now. So that's how you go through this chart to see how much you should be spending in that particular area. Right? If you're not a tither yet, then you're going to work towards that 10% for tithing. So when it comes to food, you do the same thing. Out of the 35,676 times 13%, transportation, your insurance, any debts that you have. So your credit card bills should be no more than 5% of your net spendable income. Okay. Same thing for entertainment. And if you are short in these, if this is higher, your debts is higher, then you need to cut out entertainment and recreation. Cut out clothing. Health and wellness, like we all like to work out, but there are a lot of free videos on YouTube. And miscellaneous and investments, like investments, again, you work toward that. Then if you have a child, you have to add an additional 5% in. So when you do this and work up the numbers, it is definitely an aha moment. And it's lower, like housing is lower for someone with $125,000 income because they make more money. So they're paying more, but the percentage is lower. All right. Any questions about that? So you can go through that and work that out. And then the other chart that I have in the folder is the debt list. And this is where you can list all of your debt. The only thing that this form, you can type in it, and I ask you to save it. Like, don't make a copy of it. Don't use the one that's in the Google Drive. And list your creditors. Describe, like what the card is for, the monthly payment, the balance, the scheduled payoff date, right? Because you're not adding any new debt. So if you paid the minimum on this card each month, and each month you could pay $50, but if the interest rate is 23 or 29%, only a couple of dollars are going towards the principal. So in order for you to do the snowball, you have to have all your creditors, this information listed, right? And again, nobody's looking at this but you. I'll just be showing you the process to get there, right? Nobody's looking at your finances. So auto loan, mortgages, business investments. And it's a sheet in here for the snowball strategy. You don't have to do that. I'm going to show you how to do the snowball strategy. And when you do the snowball strategy, debt repayment schedule, this is going to help you get to your debt-free date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions about that? No comments? Feedback on tonight?
You know what? I wanted to just offer something that I had found and doing research that if anyone is considering opening up an account, the best banks to open an account is the credit unions, only because they have better interest rates on the accounts. And also when you do go for your mortgage loans or any of that stuff, they offer really great rates. So just to bear that in mind, they have better rates when it comes to receiving monies back on your accounts, better, more so than the commercial banks. So if you can find a credit union that will just take you in, because sometimes credit unions, they take you in on referrals only, but then you have some of them that will take you on if you don't have to come in with a referral. And I know of a couple of credit unions that have really good rates now.
Yeah, Navy Federal is really good. That's a real popular one.
Yeah, but they've tightened up on giving out money for loans and things, because a lot of people have been applying and getting approved and not able to. So they've really tightened up. But there's other credit unions that are really, really good, and I'm very reluctant to, if you take out loans or if you need a mortgage loan, they give you better rates than, like, say, PNC or Chase or whatever. They have better
Yeah.
rates. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you have the name, share them with us.
Sure, I will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Visions Credit Union's very good.
Which one is that?
Visions, like I can see Vision
Visions.
Credit
Okay.
Credit Union.
Mm-hmm.
Good,
And
good.
definitely you can try Navy Federal and also Affinity Federal Credit Union. Um, but like I said, some of them, especially I think with Navy Federal, if you know of anyone that is in the military, that was how I was able to get into Navy Federal, because they were doing you have to be referred by a family member or friend that was
Yes.
in the service. But I know Affinity you can get in without the referral.
Bye. Don't do that, Brenda. That is
They did. Oh, no, they didn't do that.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Tell me.
Okay. So we are down to the end of the night. Thank you all for your input on this evening. Want to share what's coming up next. Next week, wait, I was on that slide. Read chapter 2, address the mess. And also wanted to share that D-Free, there's also like a book that goes along with the program. You don't have to buy the book. Anything, like if I refer really a lot of information in the chapter, I'll just refer to the pages, but it's a good read. It talks about Dr. Sori's story, and it is a lot of good tips in here, but I will share that and refer to the book for you. You don't have to buy the book.
Okay, Brenda, stop it.
Also, complete the activities and exercises for chapter 2, address the mess, and start filling out your get out of debt toolkit. All right, so get those bills gathered up, start filling out the toolkit, make copies. So we're really going to get into how the snowball effect works. So I'll be showing you that next week. Read your chapter, complete the assignments, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Okay then.
Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening? This was a good first chapter. So I hope you have a lot of takeaways to work on for next week. Anything else?
No.
All right. Would someone like to read our closing prayer?
Thank you, God, for the victory I have experienced already. You are an awesome God, and I commit this journey to you. I believe I can do this because I will depend on your power to help me. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you all. Dr.
Thank you.
Patterson, any last comments?
We have a lot of homework, but it will pay off. Please make and take the time to do it because it will bless your whole life.
Amen.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Amen.
everyone. See you next Wednesday.
Amen.
Okay, have a good night.
You
Night.
too.
Goodbye,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Right, this thing enough.